Game begin.
Welcome to the Skit Guys Podcast. Here are Tommy Woodard and Eddie James.
You go first.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Skit Guys Podcast. You all are our audience. We're glad you're here for another episode.
Yes. That was smooth.
That was really
I
good.
bet no one heard me say you go first.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Eddie.
I'm Jay.
And that's Jay.
Does Jay think we're just going to leave him out? There's always a long
No,
pause.
it's
There's always a long
hesitation.
pause. I know.
It's a
You guys,
hesitation.
like,
Yeah.
it's-
And you're here too. And you're here too.
Oh, my goodness.
guys.
Wow.
It's you guys.
It's you guys. Just don't even
Don't.
even know that I'm over here. I don't want anyone to see that I'm over
It's
here.
the one with
Please.
hair and the bald one.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
I guess that's true.
Well, we're in chapter 7
Yes.
of our podcast series, Smells Like Bacon.
It's a good chapter.
It's a hard chapter.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a hard
Such
chapter.
a good chapter.
Well,
it is.
yeah, it's such
It
a good
really is.
chapter.
It's such a good chapter. We're going to spend 2 podcasts on it.
Podcast
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which
Buckle
really
up.
bothers Jay.
I know.
It
He really wants it
bothers
to be
him.
one.
Yeah.
We can go through a
The,
tunnel later.
the Enneagram 5 in him is like, no, I think all the data can be given. Yeah.
There's a tunnel coming.
Really? Yeah.
This is I'm going to say that this idea, had you and I figured it out earlier in our relationship,
Mhm.
it could have saved us a lot of grief.
Yeah. Onus.
Yeah.
Onus on me. You know what's so fascinating? If you were to listen, if a audience member to listen to these podcasts
Yeah.
in order, you will hear us, each one of us, as we talk about different things. Like, I had
Oh.
to take onus on that.
Yeah.
Onus on
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But that's it.
It's part of our vocabulary.
Yeah. Onus on me.
Yeah.
We joke about it.
Yeah.
we sarcastically make fun of it.
Occasionally onus on you,
Yes.
right? Like you'll say
Yeah.
it to the other guy.
Yes, onus on
Hey, I
you.
think that's onus
Yeah,
on you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very, but it's a very powerful
Yeah.
as far as what it looks like in friendship. And
Yeah.
and it's very seldom done anymore.
Yeah.
In the
It
world
is.
we live in,
Yeah.
an apology is very hard for even adults.
Yeah. And this whole chapter is really about apology and forgiveness because there's 2 sides to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this podcast, we're just doing side 1,
Right. Talking about what side,
even if
side
Jay
A.
doesn't want that
Yeah.
to be the case.
Yeah. What is an apology and what is an apology and how do we get it wrong?
Right.
What does that look like?
Right, Jay.
Jay, how would you define onus? Like onus on me. How would you describe that? What would onus
You're
be?
taking ownership.
Okay.
I mean,
It was so simple and fast.
I know.
He's really trying to get this in one chapter.
Get it down to 1.
Wow. So that's his past. There's a little pop in there.
I know.
Little pop in there. Come on. What's the deal? Taking ownership. Let's do this.
Is there
Shout to the
something-
heart.
Is there something more?
No, it was very well stated. I'm just a little jealous that.
That it got that quick?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
sorry.
admitting you were wrong.
Mhm.
Onus is admitting you were wrong when it comes to your words or your actions. You feel
Right.
regret.
You didn't like the definition that I gave?
Taking ownership is great.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but if you were to CSI that a little bit, it's
You just wanted to
admitting
add more words.
no, it's admitting you were wrong, expressing regret over words or actions.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like it really is not just saying I'm responsible, but
yeah.
there's remorse,
regret, yeah,
regret.
yeah.
Yeah, there's feelings of like, gosh, I brought this. I apologize.
And I think that's what's so hard for people.
Yeah.
Even if they logically know that they were wrong,
Yeah.
their pride gets in the way. But just to go to someone and go, "Hey, I messed up here.
Yeah, I think
I'm sorry."
I could be wrong about this. I think it goes against our human nature to just own something. Like we are so people who there has to be a reason that I did something wrong. Because we don't want to be a bad person. We don't want to be wrong, And so I think it goes against our nature to just jump in and take ownership. We're always trying to figure out, yeah, but here's why I did that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? As
Yeah.
opposed to just taking ownership.
Yeah, the yeah buts are huge.
Huge.
And yeah but means I let you speak and
Hebrew
blow
word.
air.
Yeah.
But you did nothing.
Right.
Like it's not right.
Right.
Yeah. The yeah but is you're wrong.
Right.
I think it's fascinating too, but we live in a world too where we can get on social media and say so much about somebody.
Ooh.
So much about
Mhm.
somebody, and with such conviction,
Mm-hmm.
with such, pride or ego with all of that too, but we don't do it on ourselves.
Everyone else has ill intentions but us.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to any of y'all have any stories of where you had to go to someone and just apologize and you didn't want to? I mean, probably a lot of stories are with our spouses, and you messed up because it's right there in the house, right? And you're like, but what are some of those apologies when it comes to friendships or relationships that you went to somebody and said blank?
It's not a question of do I have a story. It's which one am I comfortable telling? Because you're revealing something about yourself.
Which goes to everything we're saying. You don't want anyone to see that you're, we don't want people to know that we messed up or we're fallible or that, we have these Achilles heels that make us weaker people.
Right. Yeah.
I have one for you. I don't know if you'd want to tell it.
That's great.
Tell the story of when you went to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I just told this story to my entire church this past Sunday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So, Lord of the Rings had just come out. Me and my bros had all read, my bros had all read the books.
Read the books.
I hadn't read them. And so everybody's super excited. And I think it was a Thursday, and we were going to go to the first matinee.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to be the first ones to see it. So,
and you're a youth pastor.
I'm a youth pastor at a church, and our church, a smaller church, we've lost our pastor. We've lost our worship leader.
That's right.
There's only 2 staff members left, me and an education guy.
You're double Dutch jump rope.
Yeah, kind of in charge of everything.
Yeah.
And so I said to Juanita, the church secretary, I need to drive to Fort Worth. I'll be back in about 3 hours.
So a lie.
100% a lie. What I needed to drive 3 miles to the theater and watch this movie.
With your buddies.
Now, the question still stands, why I didn't just take a personal day, why I didn't just,
Or, hey, Juanita, I'm going to go see, a bunch of us are going to go see the movie.
Yes.
But you want to, but it goes to the point. You want to look a certain way.
I know.
Yeah.
And they were my youth workers. I could have said, I'm taking youth workers to the movie.
To Lord of the Rings.
Like, there's so many options.
Yes.
But I didn't. I said, hey, Juanita, I'm going to Fort Worth. So we get to the theater. And this was, there's different age. You go, this was the Paleolithic age, the Ice Age. This was the pager age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no cell phones, just pay. Well, maybe if you're on cell phones, you had to pay by the minute. That might have been the case. But you still had pagers. And so I sit down in the theater and my pager goes off and it's the church. And so I just ignore it. She can reach out to Ron, the other staff member, right? 5 minutes goes by, pager goes off again. So I step out, call her. Hey, what's up? I'm driving to Fort Worth. I stopped at a payphone.
Oh. You just kept it going.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah. And she was like, Donald is in the hospital, and his wife is there with him, and somebody needs to go with him. Now, Donald was a World War I veteran. Not 2, 1. World War I veteran, okay? And Wilma, his wife, was there by herself. And I was like, well, hey, reach out to Ron. Hang up the phone. Go sit back down to watch the movie.
Gollum.
Yeah, Gollum, my precious.
Precious.
So pager goes off a few minutes later. I'm like, dang it, Juanita. So I call her and she's like, Ron's on his way to Fort Worth. Ron he was actually driving to Fort Worth. And I was like, fine, And I get to the hospital and Wilma's sitting in the waiting room and she looks at me and she says 2 words, he's gone.
Oh.
And so we walk into where his body is, and I hold her while she weeps. And at his funeral, there's more to this story. Anyway, at his funeral, she came up to me and she hugged me and she said, you'll never know what a comfort you were to me that day. What I love about it is God can use a reluctant servant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem was I had to go into Juanita and say, Juanita, I lied to you. I did not go. And Juanita was crushed because one of her pastors had been dishonest to her.
Right.
And she, it took her a good week before she could come back to me and say, what you did was not okay, but I forgive you.
Yeah.
You know, and to this day, I can use Juanita's name because Juanita and I are friends.
Yes.
We're great, you know, but it took everything. And had I never walked in and said to her, I lied to you,
Should have never known.
she'd have never known, but I
Right.
couldn't. It ate me up, right?
That's the regret. Not
Yeah.
just ownership, but regret.
Yeah. And there was no, you know, walk in, Juanita, I need to tell you something, and here's why I did it, and da-da-da-da. It was like, there was no reason.
No,
It was just bad.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and you didn't say, I'm sorry that you feel this way. Like,
right.
you didn't go into some of that
Right.
stuff with her.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
which that leads into what are some really just, I mean, awful ways that we tend to apologize, and that's
Yeah.
one of them. Like, I'm sorry that you felt that way.
Oh.
That's not an apology at all. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a person in my life, not in this room, just to clarify, that I'm very close to, and they cannot apologize. And every time they apologize, it is, well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that made you feel that way. And it's never, I'm sorry for what I did.
They're never taking onus.
They never take onus.
Yeah.
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 And it drives me batty.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry, but
Oh,
I'm sorry, but here's the deal. And
Right.
it's usually a preaching, or it's, I'm sorry, but I need to tell you the lessons that you're really not hearing here
right.
that you need to hear. Well, I'm sorry, but here's the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you can't explain to someone why you did what you did,
Mhm.
but you still have to take ownership
You have
for
to
it.
take
Right.
ownership.
There has
yeah.
to be a I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. This was what I was thinking, and I was wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's it's a fascinating apology too, where you want someone to apologize, like, there's been conflict.
Yeah.
There's been a disruption in the force,
Mm-hmm.
and you want them to apologize.
Right.
You know, and I'll say this, we can't, like, there's organizations that make their people apologize. You can't make another adult apologize.
Mm-mm.
Like, it's crazy to
Mhm.
me. You cannot make another adult apologize. You can, like, our kids are 18 years old and older, right? In their
Right.
20s. We can't make our kids apologize. When
Nope.
they were little,
Yeah.
you could show them the way and
Oh.
go, hey, in this moment, this deserves an apology. This is owed an apology. But you can't make somebody, you need to apologize.
When I was a kid, we played a football game. There was a kind of a standing group of guys, and we would all play football in Steve's yard. And one day we were playing, and I didn't want David to be a part of this group at all. And he was younger, a year younger than me. And so every chance I got, I'd hit him so hard because I just didn't like him. And so we're playing football one day, and I hate him hard. He went home crying, you know. And as a kid, I was like, nice, you know.
Nice.
And I'm out there still playing football, and all of a sudden I hear my mom's voice from 2 doors down across the street, and it was my full name, Thomas Lee Woodard, followed by shouting across the neighborhood, "Get your butt in here," right? And it was like, oh no, you know. And so she's like, "Did you hit David?" I was like, "We had an agreement. Anybody who plays in the game knows the rules. If you get hurt, it's your own fault for playing." You know, I'm all tough, you know. And she's like, "You are going over to his house right now and apologizing to him." "No, I'm not," you know. Well, yes, I was. My mom marches me down there, ring the doorbell. His mom brings him forward. We're both standing there. I'm like, you know, and this is what I said. I said, my mom goes, "Tommy, is there something you'd like to say to David?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm sorry you got hurt."
Yep.
That was it.
Yep.
You can't make somebody
Yep.
apologize. Yeah.
And we can do that as adults.
Right.
I'm sorry that hurt you. Like you
Yes.
said, yeah.
Yeah.
It really is crazy. Have you ever been in the situation where there has been an offense and you bring it up? You're like, well, you know, I mean, you did lie to me, or, you know, what you said in front of everybody, really, it hurt me. I'm just
Right.
letting you know it hurt me.
Yeah.
And the natural response would be,
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
And they aren't doing it. So like you're doing, you're leading them to
Yeah.
the water, and the horse ain't drinking it.
Right.
And then you end up going, well, I'm sorry. You apologize.
Yeah.
Even though you did nothing wrong, you're apologizing
Because
for
you didn't get the apology.
because you didn't get the
Yeah.
apology. So
Right.
you're filling in the words for
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
Well,
Wasn't there?
I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry that this all went this way.
Right.
Thinking that they'll go, well, I am too.
Yeah.
And then you feel even worse because you threw yourself under your own wagon.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys? I think there was a book. Was it the 1 Minute Apology?
Yes.
that you
Oh,
guys
Yeah.
had-
I love
That
that.
changed
book.
our lives.
Yes. Yeah. Did we get that for our whole staff?
No, you gave it to me one time though.
Well, you
Yeah. Probably
hope
needed it.
too bad you didn't read it.
It was a signed copy.
Yeah.
I did buy that. My whole family went through that book.
Yeah,
Like
it's a-
the four of us sat down and we'd read a chapter a week and sit down and talk about it. And it's a great book and a super short book, easy to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, because we did when we were kids, we learned to apologize, just like your mother,
Yeah.
and we've tried to do that with our children. What does it look like to have empathy and apologize,
Mhm.
express regret, do the 180. You don't come back. If an apology really is an apology, you don't keep doing the same thing.
Right.
You're sorry for it and
Yeah.
you turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's regret.
Yeah.
It is fascinating, I think, with the world that we live in,
Mhm.
with everything around us and everything we've talked about with social media and feeling like we have a microphone to say a few things. No, like apologies are so rare. Or it's these types of apologies. It's
Well,
like,
it's a public relations apology that ends up happening, right?
we've
Like,
been
where
Yeah.
it
So-
really isn't an apology.
No, it's an excuse.
It's an excuse
Yeah.
of why something happened.
Yeah.
But an apology is really just two words, right?
I'm sorry.
It's just I'm sorry.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
that's it.
you stop and think about back in the print days, a newspaper would print a retraction.
Right.
But it was always down somewhere in a corner somewhere.
They buried
It's like,
it.
I don't want you to know that I'm
did
apologizing
something
for
wrong.
this,
Yeah.
you know?
There was, I have a financial advisor, and have all the, you put your money in your retirement and all this stuff. And the guy that called me back wasn't my financial advisor. It was like an intern.
Okay.
Okay. And they were asking me questions and in my head, I'm like looking at my watch and going, my financial advisor has all this information,
Right.
and I'm trying to be kind.
Yeah.
And then they like send me a link. The intern sends me a link and wants me to supply all this information. And I go, look, I don't have time to do this right now. And I'm being forceful,
Right.
and he kind of bit back.
Oh.
He bit back.
Okay,
Like
okay.
there was some bite to
Yeah.
it, and so now I'm just frustrated and angry. Like, you know what? I'll call him back when he's available, but we don't need to do this, type thing. But there was some bite back and forth.
Yeah.
He bit, I bit, he bit. So
Yeah.
I was in the offices last week and I passed by his office and to talk to my financial advisor. And I passed by his office.
Yeah.
And it really was that thing of like, you need to go in there and apologize. I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Not at all. I don't.
There's
Not at
nothing
all.
like arguing with the Holy Spirit.
No, I
Yeah.
don't. But what was fascinating, and I know this gentleman is not a believer.
Mhm.
And so I go in there and I go, hey, that phone call we had like 6 months ago, like it was a while ago.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. Like he knew what I mean, it was
Right,
there,
right.
like my name is now tied to that phone call for him.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. And I go, I want to apologize. I was wrong. And it was just fascinating watching this guy's face. This 20 something is like, well, and then you watched him go, I said some things I shouldn't have said, and I shouldn't have done that. I go, apology, he didn't really say I'm sorry, but
Sure,
he
sure.
admitted.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I passed by your office and I just want to tell you I'm sorry. What I said was not my heart, but I said it and I was wrong. So
Oh,
will you
that's
accept
great.
And I stuck out my hand shook. But like I left going, I mean, that should be happening all the time,
Yeah.
but we don't.
Right.
Because we're going to make mistakes.
Yes.
If you have a friendship and neither one of you has ever apologized, something's wrong with your friendship. And there used to be this old saying, what is it? Love means never having to say I'm sorry.
That was that movie Love
Yeah,
Story. with
Yeah,
Ally
from Love Story. Yeah.
Stupid.
And you're like, that's the dumbest
Yeah.
statement ever.
Yeah.
Love means I will say I'm sorry.
And in the 70s, they bought into it. Love
Yes.
never means to say you're sorry. Yes, you do.
yeah, you
Yes.
do. Yeah, you
Yes.
do.
It's the ointment to life.
100%.
Get you down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's really good.
Mhm.
Yeah. So as your audience, as you're thinking about these things, or, and I'm sure the Holy Spirit has brought someone to mind that you go, I need to apologize to them. Practice it. Like sometimes you got to lab it out. You got to practice it. You got to say it out loud so you don't jump into the excuses, that you don't jump into the yeah buts, that you don't jump into the, even the we can also codependently apologize for everything, instead of just that one thing,
Yes.
And that's where it gets a little icky and messy, but you may need to practice it before you go to that person.
Yeah.
And to really think it through before you say it. It's a hard, vulnerable thing to do.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about the 1 minute apology is that he says your apology should cost you something.
Explain that a little bit more.
So we are very flippant many times with our apologies. It doesn't cost me anything just to say to you, hey man, I'm really sorry about that. Right. But if it costs you something, it is literally, he gives the example, if I remember correctly, it may be that you go, you know what, I'm going to buy my friend a meal and tell them I'm sorry. Like I'm going to literally let it cost me something, take them to coffee, do whatever,
That's good.
and that's not, you're not buying their forgiveness. Like in doing so, you don't deserve anything back. You're paying something, right? But it should cost you your pride.
Yeah.
It should cost you your needing to be right. It should cost your ego. Like apology should cost you something. If you don't feel anything, if it's not costing you anything, it's probably just lip service.
Yeah.
It's
good.
And I think that's huge.
It's good. Well,
It's great.
Any thoughts you have, Jay?
No, I think it's a great episode.
I forgot, this is Forthrightness and Friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
forthrightness.
Yeah, I forgot to say that earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The forthrightness.
Forthrightness.
That's
and
really
Friends.
good, buddy.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Well, we'll be back with part 2 to what does it look like to be on the receiving end of an apology, and what does that look like to have forgiveness and show forgiveness and all those beautiful things.
As you've been listening to this episode, if you've been thinking of people that need to apologize to you, please listen to the next episode. Because that's really what you need.
You want them to write the list down.
Yes.
That is really beautiful. Yes. All right. Well, send us a voice memo to pod@skitguys.com.
Excellent.
Did I say it right?
That's perfect. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
Great.
We're getting
Nailed it.
some voice.
Nailed
Maybe
it.
because I'm now saying voice memo. That's why we're getting that.
It might have fixed it.
Oh my
People
goodness.
trying to leave
Voice the landing.
voice text.
Onus on me. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Audience, I am sorry that
That's
I
huge.
was communicating incorrectly.
That's huge. Excellent.
Wonderful.
Well done. Hey, forgiven.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, we will end this episode on apologies.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
See ya.
See
Love
ya.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Game over.
Look for the Skit Guys movie Family Camp on streaming platforms. And check out skitguys.tv for videos, tour dates, and more.